Hi everyone, this is Norman
Hey, this is
Kochnik.
better.
You can hear me? We're on live straight away. Hi everyone, this is Norman Kochnik here from Eyes on Cricket. On the eve of the second test between Pakistan and Australia, and of course the second test eve for a day-nighter, a pink ball test in Bangalore between India and Sri Lanka. And as we speak, I think the West Indies and England are well and truly in a tussle. And actually, West Indies are doing very well, aren't they? Well, welcome, Mosen Sheikh. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me again in your show. It's been always a pleasure having a good discussion about Test cricket around the world.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way things are going. We've got very good viewership in general. I've had one video that's gone to 975,000 views. It's edging towards 1 million, which is very exciting for me. I've not had a 1 million view video before, so that's going to be something very special.
That is very special. Even 75,000, what you said, is really good response from your audience.
Yeah, and obviously a growing, well, the subcontinent is one of the major areas, with obviously India over time, and now Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, clearly the USA, which actually one of the biggest audiences is the USA, which is obviously expats, obviously Australia and England, South Africa, New Zealand, are all major components. But then we've got people from Austria and from Colombia, people from all over the world. I mean, Barama Rani, who you've met, Moses, do you know where he is? He's not in India.
No.
He's in the Philippines.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
But he's been a great contributor. So
absolutely.
Yeah, he's a mad keen cricketer. And obviously with the Shane Warne saga having not gone away, it's only getting more and more dramatic when he arrived in a private jet, his body at least, at Essendon Airport there in Melbourne. People were there. It's been a long time since we've had a reaction to somebody dying like this, isn't it? It's really, I can't even remember.
Can I just excuse myself, Norman? I'll just get the tripod right, if that's right.
Sure.
1 sec. Just 1 sec.
Moses will join us in a second. So we are going to preview the match between Pakistan and India. Pakistan have had Babar Azam, and Australia have had Pat Cummins being interviewed. They've had Dave Warner being interviewed. They've had a fair few, actually. Also, Imam Ul-Haq was also interviewed. And Babar Azam was very clear in saying that they totally dominated the first test. And I absolutely agree with that summation of Babar Azam. Good afternoon, good evening. In fact, Paul Newman, how are you? I'm a little bit sad because my favourite Rabbitohs team got beaten by the Broncos tonight, which was a bit sad. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. So Babar Azam used the word domination. And it's really bizarre when I hear the Australian Pat Cummins and even Andrew McDonald speak. They say, oh, we've controlled the tempo of the match. Now, you may have maybe reduced some of the run rates, but you didn't control the tempo of the match at all. Pakistan controlled the entire tempo of the match.
Exactly. The thing was, they probably controlled first day, first session, and second day, first session, where they didn't allow the batters to just go ahead and score 100 runs in a session. But, they've been wicketless, and the batters actually wear them down so they can cash in session 2 and session 3. And as we touched base last time, they only managed to get 3 wickets and 1 was run out. So they didn't really control the game. I didn't believe they did. Even with the ball and even with the bat, they threw away 3 guys who threw away their hundreds, and namely Khwaja, Marnus and Smith.
Exactly. I mean, I'm a little bit annoyed because we all know cricket. We're all cricket, in some cases, living room aficionados, fooled by someone telling us, oh, we controlled the tempo of the match. No, you didn't. They scored a squillion runs against you. They were none for 250-odd on the last day's play. Now, you could call it a road or whatever. It's not relevant.
No.
We had evidence of how Pakistan got all 10 wickets to the Australian innings, including a 6 for one of their bowlers. There's no excuses at all. Australia were dominated in the match. And I mean, I know Mitchell Swepson's been included, and he looks very fit. I'll give him that. And he's been waiting since 2017 in the overall squad. Now, look, I mean, he may have been waiting since 2017, but that doesn't guarantee him playing for Australia. I've been waiting for 58 years. It doesn't guarantee. I mean,
I think you well and truly missed your chance, Newman.
I mean, I think I have, but I'm still there.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's still, a bit ridiculous
still alive.
That he's owed a test spot. That's not true. Absolutely not true. No. And the other major fallacy that I'm hearing a lot in world cricket is they say, oh, he got a lot of wickets playing in Sheffield Shield, or this person got a lot of wickets playing in county cricket. I'm sorry, that's not test cricket.
No.
You can be the best state bowler in the world, but do horribly at test level. On the other hand, you might be a Shane Warne who played maybe one or two Shield matches, one or two first-class matches, and was on a hunch put into the Australian side and was the best bowler ever.
Exactly.
So you can't.
It's hard.
I'm actually, when I hear this question of little wickets playing for state cricket, okay, good on him. That doesn't mean squat. The true test will come in this match, and he is going to. It's a baptism of fire.
Exactly.
And I watched his bowling. There's a video I uploaded a minute ago, which had already 1,000 views in about 2 hours. I watched his bowling. He certainly is a very physical bowler. He's a lot of physical action. No wonder he stress fractured his upper vertebrae from his action, because it was way too aggressive, I think. And I don't see much of a, what's the word for it? An alternative delivery or a kit of wicket-taking balls that he's got, other than a ripping spinner. What I'm getting at there is Shane Warne recently, I watched him on a video talk about how to bowl spin, and he said a lot of spin bowlers grab the ball really tightly and put a lot of effort into a lot of extra effort, whereas he adopted an approach where he had his 2 fingers down and 2 fingers up, and he held
up, 2 up, 2 down.
Correct, but he held it in a manner which was relaxed, without any stress on the ball. And I'm telling you, I'd be listening to what Shane Warne says about how to bowl spin. And I know he's been in the era of Swepson. Apparently, he's helped him a lot. And I'm being very negative. I shouldn't be, but I've got I want to see the proof in the pudding. I want to see him show his wares. I mean, I don't care if he's waiting for 4 or 5 years. That's not relevant. I actually think it's probably worse. I prefer him to go straight in there. I met a guy last night or the night before, I think it was, last name Raval. Have you heard of this guy? He's a leg spinner in the New South Wales Sydney Thunder squad. Do you know the guy, the man called Raval?
Yeah, no.
Well, Jason Sanger, Tanvir Sanger, with that group, and also this young guy. He reckons he bowled leg spin in the nets to, I'm not doubting him, against Warner and even Lyon, and he was ripping them past them. He was doing really well. He's 26, apparently. He's got Indian background, and he played with a range of traffic. So anyway, it was intriguing to hear him talk. But I think a good leg spinner has to be right out of the Shane Warne mold, which is relaxed. If you've got stress fractures of your upper vertebrae and you're bowling spin, you've got problems. So I hope he's addressed that. I mean, I think
he has. He's been the best thing about Swepson coming into this test match, that he's been bowling with really good flight. If you see some of his footage from the recent first-class fixtures that he's played in Shield, and he played a couple of club games as well, he's flighting the ball really well. He's coming over the ball, and his side spin is really working nicely. So these are the few traits that I quite like about him. He's been, as we all know, that been waiting 5 years, but he's been churning his trade in Shield cricket quite well, and he's been developing from where he started, being very flat side spinner. Now he's got really good flight. He's got good wrong on. He's developing his flipper. He's not as good, but obviously for a young leggy. To have that kind of flipper, that what Warnie we are used to seeing, is going to be a hard trade. So I like these 2 traits about Swepson. He's demonstrating this year. Flight has been the key, and I think Karachi And if you see Norman when he bowled in Rawalpindi, the key thing for him was the variation in the flight. He floated the ball well. His flight was good, and he was the only guy. Obviously, who got wickets, but he was the only guy who spin past the bat quite a lot of time because his flight was really good. And I like that addition of Richardson coming in because I think with that flight, he's going to get good purchase. So I'm really excited to get him getting a baggy green, getting into a Aussie side. And I feel for Hazelwood, I hope he's not injured again. I hope he's just been rested. Doesn't sound like it. Okay, yeah. I hope he's not, because obviously, the guy of he's come back from injury, as we all know from Ashes. He's only played one Test match, so his workloads were not built up to the Test match again, and he had a long Test match again. So it's probably a good swap for Shrepo to come in, and I think I'm excited for him.
Oh, that's good. Look, I'm not knocking Richardson. The description by Pat Cummins was that Hazelwood misses out. So if he misses out, that means he's not injured. He's just missing out. I noticed a comment here from Vikash Bisnoy saying, "Do you think in favour of Swepson over ahead of Ashnagar?" Now, that's my other quandary here is the variety that I know leg spin is a variety to off spin. I get that. But we do have a bunch of people who bowl leg spin in the team, which is not necessarily good, but as in Smith and the like. Is the variety of a left-arm bowler something that may be more significant on this wicket than that of a leg spinner? Is my question.
Yeah. So my theory on that one, if they were going to play a left-arm spinner, you would play on a flatter deck, which actually skids. If you saw Rawalpindi pitch, it was a skidder. So you would play a left-arm spinner in Rawalpindi. But in Karachi, which is a genuine spin pitch, now you remember the PSL's just concluded. They've played a lot of matches in Karachi. So the square is quite abrasive. They've used 3 decks in Karachi for the 2020 league, and this is the 4th deck. So they've used the entire square in Karachi now. So the square is quite abrasive. This pitch has got a little bit tinge of grass, but it's not that kind of grass. It's just a holding grass. It's not going to seam as much. So the grass is there just to support. So the pitch here, the one they're playing in the middle one, is going to take turn. It's going to break up a little bit. It's not like Rawalpindi pitch, which is a skidder and everyone calls it a road. So my understanding from the 2 different kind of characteristics in the pitches is, left arm spinner, I would have played Ashton in Rawalpindi. As you saw, Norman was very successful. He skidded the ball, he went undercut the ball, and then he flighted the ball well. And that's what Ashton, as we know from Australia, he's got really good arm ball, and he comes over the ball as well sometimes. So he's not a big turner, but he skids the ball. And that would have suited him in Rawalpindi. Whereas here, you want someone who can really turn the ball. And you saw 2020 games in Karachi, if you had some footage from PSL, the ball turned. Even in 2020 games, ball turned. Shadab was successful. Even guys like Imran Tahir was very successful, both wrist spinners. So Karachi will be a totally different characteristic pitch, and I would like a wrist spinner over a finger spinner in the left arm in Karachi.
Okay. All right. That's a good answer. Now, Paul Newman, who's always on our show, hopefully Australia does not reverse sweep every second ball in this match. Good point.
Very good point. I actually was surprised, and I just couldn't understand. If the ball was spinning squares, you have 1 or 2 batters who have a methodology of going reverse, but it didn't. And everyone came out with this method of reverse sweeping, and it did not work because the ball skidded, it bounced a little bit, and it just played in the hand of Norman, who got both Smith and Uzia, because they were just playing that shot to counter-attack spin, which I just couldn't make sense, because that methodology would probably work in a dragging pitch. But in Karachi, even you don't need to play reverse sweeps.
Exactly. Now, Paul Newman's also said Stark provides footmarks for Lions. Now, that may well be the case, but I don't think you should be picking bowlers because they provide footmarks for another bowler. They've got to be bowling well. I mean, I could provide lots of footmarks. I'd fall over a few times when I bowl. I don't think there'd be any issue with that. So I think it's hopefully more than that. Also, the toss will be a crucial one again. I do agree. If Pakistan win the toss, they're in the box seat yet again. I really honestly don't think our spinners threaten the Pakistan bowlers batsmen enough. I think Pakistan, they know their conditions so well, and they knew exactly what to do with any of our spinners. We need a Shane Warne on the side, I'm afraid, to really make a difference. Not knocking Richardson, not knocking Lyon, but I think even though the conditions may be more favouring wickets, maybe the more wickets will fall, the Pakistan batsmen, especially the top three, holy smoke, they're going to be brimming with confidence. They dominated the first test. They've got momentum. They're going to be unstoppable. So if they bat first, heaven help us, I reckon.
And if you remember famous Australia-Pakistan test, Karachi test, game finished on the last wicket, last ball, where the ball went for bars. Shane Warne to Inzi, and the ball went through his legs and went through Ian Healy as well, and 4 bars win the test match. So it's going to be the thing with a lot of comments that I've seen over the last couple of days that, test match everywhere is finishing in 4 days. Pakistani pitches, you're not going to have test match finish in 4 days. The pitches are not similar to India or Sri Lanka or Bangladesh. They're not as abrasive, or they don't break as quickly. Like, we saw what happened in India, Sri Lanka game, 3.5 days, game's over. Pakistan test matches will go 5 days. The pitch will break slowly. It won't crumble like it does in India. It's not a hot climate. It's coastal city. So weather might be a little bit humid. It's more like Brisbane. So it is, the sea breeze will come in play. It would be a bit more heat, bit more sun on the pitch.
Is there a coastline near Karachi?
It's next to it's a coastal city, Karachi. So it's by the sea, so you'll have sea breeze, you'll have the humidity factor in there. Sun will remain on ground longer than what it was in Rawalpindi, because the demographic of Rawalpindi is more a valley sort of surrounded by snowy mountains. So the cold breeze was kicking in and sun was setting early, but Karachi is a bit more, as I said, it's more like Brisbane. So there will be a bit of humidity, and that's why everyone's talking about the reverse swing earlier on. Humidity be there, abrasive square pitches been used for 2020 as well. So the 3 strips have been used previously, and the 2 end strips which they prepare for the bowlers to warm up as well. So it's a big square which is very abrasive, and we all know everyone throws the ball into the square from early day dot anyway, if the ball goes in the outfield. So I would be expecting reverse swing and spin.
A lot of comments about why they've picked Mitchell Starc again over, quite frankly, Hazlewood, and I tend to agree. I thought if anyone was one of the top 3 bowlers were to not get a Guernsey this game and miss out, as Cummins said, it would certainly be Starc. So intriguing.
What would have been ideal selection for this pitch would be Bolland, because Barrow's bowled in MCG on a flatter deck since being a drop-in pitch, and MCG pitch has been really flat. It hasn't done sideways, and Barrow's been successful at MCG over the last so many years with the new ball, and so is the older ball. And he showed that in the Ashes Test match as well. So I would have actually gone with him as a really good alternate. But then, hey, I'm thinking outside the box. They've gone with Starc with an extra pace on, but I would have gone with Scotty Bolland.
Yeah, I think that I know your argument for Richardson over Agar. I can accept that. Although I think I told you I'd like to see Agar on the team. You could have easily have had, if you wanted to put Richardson, you could have had Agar, Richardson and Lyon. And by dropping head, Agar into head, Boland or whatever would possibly have come into contention. But the reality is that you could have even played three spinners because Agar could quite easily get away to be a middle order batsman and bowl very well.
So, and they're trying him to open in T20s as well. You saw that against Sri Lanka.
Exactly.
Mm. So, yeah, you've definitely got a point. I agree.
Now, Debash's Mahanti's brought up the fact of Agar's averages. Now, let me just say about averages for one moment. In a test level, in terms of test level averages, based on the average you have when you play test cricket, is where it really matters. Okay. Again, if Agar may have, a 43 average in his bowling, which is not great, but he is a wicket taker as well, and he's a clever player, an all-round game. He could again produce incredible averages when he plays at test level if given the opportunity. I don't necessarily subscribe to an average in state level compared to national level.
Yeah, no, it's different. I mean, and plus he's played a lot of Shield cricket in WA where he gets good bounce. Yeah, so it's not comparable.
But what I'm getting at is I keep coming back to people like I'll go through his names. Lasith Malinga, Murali, obviously Warren. There's a whole raft of bowlers that had. Look at even Harris Ralph. They didn't have much true first-class level cricket before they making their debuts for their country. Very little. So I don't know whether we. I'd almost be, except for Michael Hussey, he may have been an exception because he started very late, and maybe even the other guy, who was the guy from WA who started late. I've forgotten his name now. Who got runs when he played for Australia, and he's late third. I think in general, just because you play well at state level does not make you an instant success at national level. So I don't subscribe to that, and hence why I'm not really bothered with too many averages. I want to see Swepson's proof of the pudding is tomorrow. In the game that he plays, he will have to show his wares. I'm afraid to say pretty damn quickly because he's gone straight into the most difficult possible place, even though it's a pitch which will probably favour him. If he's not accurate, he's going to be carted. And you watch, oh my God, Imam al-Haq, Shafiq and Azhar Ali will absolutely tear him apart if he doesn't bowl on song. I'll tell you now, those 100%. Three.
And just to make one point, sorry, Norman, you know how a lot of spinners get into the game in India, all of a sudden the ball's turning sideways. It won't be that easy. The spin would be slow. It would be slow off the pitch as well. So he's got to understand the pace of the pitch. He's got to understand the pace of the flight that he's going to bowl with. So these are two very key elements that he's got to understand at test level. That what pace of flight he's going to deliver, what pace he's going to bowl into the pitch. And if he's erroring tiny bit, it would allow that time for both the opening batters, Azhar, even Baba, coming at 4 and even Fawad at 5. They will be going hard at him and they will be targeting side screen. So that's how they play in subcontinent, and they'll sweep as well. In Karachi, they'll use sweep shot quite well. So if he's tiny bit off, they will use square of the pitch really well. And you saw they played conventional sweep or slot sweep against the spin in Rawalpindi, and that's their method of playing. They didn't play reverse sweep as what Aussies did. So he's got to understand on day one if he's bowling there, or if he's going in and bowling day 2 or day 3. He's got to understand the pace of the pitch, the pace of the flight that he bowls with. And as you said, it's not going to be easy. It's very different to Indian pitches and Indian climate. People think here in Australia, a lot of people have talked to me about how the ball turns in India and how the ball turns in Pakistan. It's totally different. It's such a big gap between the spinning pitches in India. Their clay base is high, whereas Pakistan's pitch content clay base is low, and that's what they're trying to get the soil from Australia. So I had a chat with one of the guys from PCB. He's trying to get soil from Australia, which has got high clay base. So Ramiz Raja has got that idea right to get the pitches of different quality built in Pakistan. So So yeah, that's the nature of it, I suppose. So it'd be a good test come tomorrow.
Yeah, look, there's a whole lot of things. The relationship, I'll go back to a Shane Warne with an Ian Healy and ultimately Adam Gilchrist. They had a great relationship the way they played. Rod Marsh, Lilly, Rod Marsh, whoever you want to talk about. Alex Carey and his relationship to bowlers is going to be very important. Alex Carey is, you would argue, still very new to Test cricket. He's going to be keeping to Richardson. He's going to need all the help he can get at Test level because he's new. It's going to be interesting how that takes place. And some people are mentioning Agar hasn't had much experience at this level. He played a Test match in England, as we know, got 99 runs, and I mean he's obviously a quality, but I think he's a big match player. Anyway, I'm not sold on Swepson. I want him to prove to me that he's the right stuff. And I know that Shane Warne came in and bowled and got 1 for 150 in his first Test match at the SCG and got carded against India. Okay, I grant that. But considering how much so-called preparation Swepson's been given and the level that he's supposedly been playing at state level and been around the Australian camp for as long as he has, let's see him. He should be chomping at the bit to play well and be on song immediately and make a major impact and take several wickets if he's worthy of his place. He's not to come in there and just get 1 wicket. That won't be good enough. And that puts pressure on him. I understand that. Puts pressure on Alex Carey because Josh Inglis is on his heels big time. It is intriguing how they've got 2 keepers on the Test side of the tour. That was a bit of a what's the word for it? That was a bit of a hello. We're not sold on you just yet. Listen, because normally you don't bring a second keeper.
I think it's good. It's a good problem to have for Australia that Inglis is really, pushing the door and he's just been given a go in white ball cricket as well, and his glove work has been tidy. His batting is good as well. So I think it's a good problem to have. Alex Carey has to really lift his game, both batting and with the glove as well, or continue to improve. I mean, he's obviously been given a first go after Tim Payne. I don't know if Tim Payne will ever be looked at again because he's not playing any Shield. He didn't play any Shield. He trained a couple of times with the Shield squad, but he didn't put his hand up in playing. So I probably consider Tim Payne's international career is over. So if Carey gets a longer run here in Sri Lanka and then in India, I think they'll go to Carey Inglis with the team as well, just so that they can develop him alongside him. Because as you know, keepers in subcontinent are 1 injury away. And we saw against Rizwan when the ball started to reverse, he was copying it on fingers and wrists and everywhere. So I think it's a good call from you that Inglis is obviously on his heels, and they should carry second keeper to give him experience in those subcontinent missions. I think Inglis is in white ball squad, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, it's hard because I'm very judgmental with players, and if I don't think they're going to make it or they're not the right fit, and it may not only be their ability, but something about the way they fit. And Alex Carey, despite having good glove work, there's no doubt he's a good glove work keeper. And he used to be a lot better a batsman too. He seemed to be a lot freer, but he seems very inhibited lately. The last maybe couple of years I've seen him bat, he seems inhibited, meaning that he's not himself. Whereas Gilchrist was so clear in his mind, he was an outrageously good bat. Even obviously in Healy or Brad Haddon, they were very clear batters. Alex Carey's not that free. I mean, he tried to play a reverse sweep on the first ball. That was a dumb shot. He got a single for it, but that wasn't necessarily what I'm talking about. There's something missing there, and I don't know whether he's actually going to bring it back or I'm just wondering what's going to happen. Whereas Josh Inglis has got that magic. He's got that batting.
Yeah, his dismissal was very casual as well. If you look at his dismissal against Naseem Shah, he missed the ball straight down the line and played the inside line of the ball with his off stump taken away. It was very casual. He didn't look tight enough around his off stump against the pace as well. So, yeah, look, there's few things that he needs to address, and I hope he does, because he's an excellent talent to have, and I like him from his attitude point of view. He's very light-hearted person. He jokes around the team. He's very easy to get along, and his video footage, I'm sure your audience and everyone has seen, when he's casually walked into the swimming pool when he was going towards his room when the team was going in to check in. He just casually walks into the swimming pool, and he just was not aware of his surroundings. He's a very light-hearted person and very likable person as well. So I like to see him go a bit more smarter about his batting this test match. And obviously he's still new to the scene in the highest level. So let's see how he goes this test match.
Okay, so there is Bastards Mahanti and Paul, and I'm on their side. There is pressure on Alex Carey. He's got to score runs. His batting average is 20 or whatever it is. He has to score runs. He really does. His keeping itself, I'm not talking about, but he's got to score runs because the pressure's on him. It's intriguing. I think we're also meant to be hearing who the full-time coach is at some stage during the series, and I'm not sure whether Wayne Fandry will finish a couple of the next two tests or not. But that's. I mean, I think he's quite respectful. He's obviously very well liked. He must know the game pretty well. Whether he's the long-term coach is another thing. All right. So the Australian side has been chosen. Cummins has said that, of course, with Warner, Khawaja, Labuschagne Smith, Travis Head, he's in there, and then you got Cameron Green, and you got Carey, then you move down to the bowlers, basically, which is a combination of Lyon, Sark, Cummins. I'm not sure what order they're bringing because Cummins dropped himself down and Schweppes in there. So, yeah, that's I don't know whether they've got enough change in that.
I'm starting to get some distortion from your side. I'm going to leave and rejoin the chat.
Distortion, I'm getting distortion from your side as well.
Okay, let me leave and then rejoin. So let's see if we can
all right.
get rid of that.
Okay. Are you guys all hearing me? Debashis and Paul, are you hearing me? Maham, are you all hearing me well? Just a quick acknowledgement in the comments column, please, because we need to have an idea of whether we're clear. Usman Khawaja didn't play versus England last series, which was a blunder made by Langer. Yeah, I agree. I think Usman Khawaja should have been in the whole time. He's an amazing cricketer. He scored 8 centuries, whatever it is now, 8 or 9 or whatever it is. I can hear you better now. Okay. Usman Khawaja's in there for the long haul. And with Warner, he'll help Warner, actually. Labuschagne seems to be doing still well, and obviously Smith. Travis Head, I want him to be more consistent, even though he scored a couple of centuries last Ashes series. He's got to be more consistent, and I'm not sure. We'll wait and see. My thoughts around on that, actually. Is that better?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, same. My side's better too. And people mentioned that they could hear better then too. All right, so okay. The interesting how Australia come out, and I commend Pat Cummins just telling us aside. When Baba Azam was being interviewed, Melinda Farrell, who I know, you could argue stupidly, told Baba, "Oh, Schweppes has been picked. Did you know that?" And Baba's answer was, "No, we didn't. Thanks for that. Thanks for the early heads up. We're going to hear better now." So they didn't listen to the media conference of Australia, and they were given information which wouldn't have mattered too much. But
no.
Pakistan, in my opinion, are supremely confident because they know that Australia took very few of their wickets. They know that batting is in immense order. You don't get people scoring. You don't get two of the opening batters scoring centuries. Scoring 3 centuries between them and a 40-odd. It's not the case. So the Pakistani batting is in order. Their bowling is pretty good shape too. I'm just curious who they'll bring in now. Will they bring Hassan Ali in, or will they not? Will they bring Harris Ralph in or not? I don't know what they're going to do there. I mean,
I think I clearly see two changes. Fahim Ashraf and Hassan Ali coming back in for Naseem Shah and for Iftikhar. So that's the two changes. I would actually like to go, instead of an off spinner, a leg spinner in Karachi, just purely that this is a different kind of turner. I would have gone with one of the leg spinners. I know Yasir is unfit. He's with the squad, but he's not fit. So I would have actually thought about Shadab as well. But I think
Paul Newman's right. The sound's going. Paul, can you hear me clearly, or am I also, because Mosen's your words are very scratchy, and Paul, can you hear me? But no, Pakistan, okay. If the Pakistan prepare a pitch, they will struggle because, I mean, there was a discussion amongst Mosen about, that Pakistan deliberately made the pitch a road so they would negate the bowling. Well, good on them. Good on them. Why shouldn't they? It's their home territory. We make pitches greener and better for fast bowling. Well, are we kidding ourselves? Paul can hear me. It's Mosen, your end something mustn't be right with your end. Anyway, I mean, Pakistan have done nothing wrong with their pitch. Absolute garbage. And people are going to get off this pitch business because even in India, they talk about the pitch too much. Both teams play on the same pitch. Whether it's good, bad, or ugly, they're both playing the same pitch. So no one's being advantage over another at all. If you're a fast bowling lineup and you play on a pitch which doesn't suit you, well, then you need to select accordingly. You need to bowl accordingly. You need to be able to toughen up and bowl appropriately in those conditions. So I don't want to use the pitch as an excuse under any circumstances, because the only time I think the pitch is relevant as an excuse for a game is when one side has had bad weather which affects the pitch on the latter day and the other side's had a day of sunshine. Maybe then you can blame the bad luck of the circumstances. But both teams play on the same pitch, whether it's a mud heap or road, grass or no grass, it doesn't matter. You can't say, oh, look at it, I prepared a pitch to suit them. Well, that was smart of them. Then you needed to select a side that was also capable of handling that pitch. As simple as that. And I think Australia should have had the guts to actually have all three of their spinners in the side. That's what they should have done. And really go for it, because their only chance of winning this second test match, other than Pakistan just giving up, is they've got to have a bowling unit that will test them. And I think that if they're backing Agar, they should have Agar, Richardson and Young in line. Really?
Agree. I'm getting a lot of feedback again, Norman. I don't know if your audience is getting...
What are you using a different connection today?
No, I'm not sure what's happening. It's probably on my side. I'm going to leave and try
again. Well, hearing clearly, so, because just keep persisting. Just do it one more time. Get back in one more time. Just give it one more chance.
Okay. I'm going to try one more time. See if it works.
Okay, all right. Okay. But Devash is saying that Pakistan play a negative brand of cricket. Media, okay. It's negative in terms of, okay, they're not scoring fast. I'll agree with that. Azhar Ali is a very slow scoring batsman, but he scored 185 runs. I don't think anyone could complain if they could score at test level against a strong bowling lineup from Australia and they can get 185 runs. So no, I don't agree with that. The reality is Australia has to find a bowling combination that can take 20 wickets. That is the key, because their batters did pretty well.
How's that, Norman? Can you hear me better?
It's better. It's better.
All right, let's try that before it gets
okay.
distorted again.
I was just saying about the fact is that Australia's problem is they didn't take 20 wickets in the first match.
True.
Road or no road, okay? They didn't even take, as you said, 3 wickets, which was incredible.
Terrible.
The first and the last day, they didn't take wickets.
No.
So it's where the key to this match is. They can't afford to have Hazel, Stark, and Cummins in the side. You won't drop Cummins. He's captain. He's staying. Stark out of the 3 would have been my choice. And and they need to consider one of the batters who was almost deemed to be an all-round like head as well, because they need to have their 3 spinners in this match. And I think Australia doesn't often use 3 spinners. Look at India. They had 3 spinners in their match against Sri Lanka.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There was a great example. They absolutely creamed Sri Lanka.
I think that they've gone with a little bit of safety, and they want to, the obsession of Australians having an all-rounder, even since we've seen Watson and we tried Marsh and now Green. So there's an obsession in Australian mindset to have a fast bowling all-rounder. So we've seen that legacy gone in like a third rotation in that. Even you've seen Cartwright being tried in that role as well. So, there's a bit of a mindset with Australian selection to have a fast bowling all-rounder in there. Whereas, as you said earlier, Agar could have done equally the same role because he can bat as well. And he's on debut, he was 99, remember, in England. So he can hold the bat, and he's been opening the batting in 2020 recently. So they could have easily gone with 3 spinners, but at least it's a good step to go with 2. Whereas, when was the last time Australia played 2 spinners? It was Sock and Lyon played in India quite a few years ago, 3 years ago, I think, where Sock and Lyon played together. Stephen O'Keefe, that is. So, it's been, I like the shift. So hopefully slowly they can continue to have that shift. By the time they get to Sri Lanka or India, they'll have 3 spinners.
Okay. Jai Richardson comments there. He's still not 100%, is he?
No, his shoulder is still not good, and he was playing that Shield game. He dived again, and he was concerned about his shoulder getting injured again. So I think he's a little bit far from Test cricket, but he won't be that far. With James Patterson calling it a day for red ball cricket, I think Jai Richardson is next in line.
Really? Sad, because he had lots of potential. He was obviously of quality. But you think back to a person like Pat Cummins, who had literally 6 years out of cricket, certainly Test cricket, and came back. That's a remarkable story, isn't it, really?
Absolutely.
He had several breakdowns.
Absolutely. His efforts must be appreciated, the way he's gone through and dealt with his injuries, and coming out and being dominant again in Test cricket for the last couple of years. He's still #1 Test bowler. He's done really well for a guy who's had a mixed action when he first came in, and he's broken his back so many times, and to be able to go back, remodel his complete bowling action to align his upper body to lower body, and then coming back and dominating international cricket, it is hats off to him.
Oh, gotcha. So, in terms of the Pakistan team, we've talked about bringing back the bowlers who were originally in the squad back in. Let's move away from Australia, Pakistan at the moment, because I still think Pakistan maintain the rage. They maintain the dominance. There's only a few days since the last test. Even though Karachi will take more spin, we're dealing with players from these teams, in particular Pakistan, that know their grounds back to front. And Australians simply haven't had that experience. Even with the PSL recently, a lot of players have had exposure. And we talked earlier in comments there about Alex Carey being under pressure with Josh Inglis on his toes. Well, it's going to happen. There's going to be some movement there if they don't get their act together. And if Pakistan beat Australia and beat them in the series, then Australia has to very quickly think, because they've got a huge season of subcontinent play anyway. All right, let's move to the other match, India versus Sri Lanka. Now, the monkey's off Kohli's back. He wasn't not his 100th test anymore. India absolutely walloped Sri Lanka, absolutely smashed them. Mentally, they are on an incredible high. Okay, this is a day 9 match. It's a pink ball. It might level the 2 teams, who knows, but I can see India dishing out the same medicine again, and I can see India probably winning in even less time. That's my prediction.
Same. I think India is quite dominant in that contest. Even though this is a pink ball day and night match, I like to see Sri Lanka doing well, at least for a couple of sessions. Try and hold the game longer, whether they're bat or whether they're with the ball. So you saw in last test match, they've had some partnerships, but then they threw away those partnerships to be all of a sudden 1 for 100 to be 4 for 150. So, I'd like to see Sri Lanka hold for a little longer, try and at least win 1 or 2 sessions in this contest, to be able to be a bit more competitive. But what India is dishing out for Sri Lanka, I don't see any other result but what we saw in last test match, being India dominating and winning this test match.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Not a lot of overwhelming. I mean, there's always interest in India playing cricket, of course, but yeah, Sri Lanka. I don't know whether Sri Lanka will make any changes. They may well do so. They're going to have to think of something pretty quickly because they've only got this one match to go. They've gone from being the leader of the World Test Championship because of the way that things started. They're plummeting, as they probably should. Women's cricket, Women's World Cup. I had a bit of a look at that. South Africa won, but not convincingly against Pakistan.
No.
West Indies defeated England. New Zealand are up and down. Australia's solid as a rock. It's intriguing. It's an intrigue. I still think New Zealand are going to be a bit of a dark horse in this, but otherwise Australia. India is up and down as well. Yeah. I was pretty happy with the way Bangladesh played. Bangladesh played well against South Africa. They lost, but they played well. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. All right. So in terms of West Indies and England, West Indies are doing particularly well. England had them on the ropes, and then there's a Bonner, is that his name, who got a century, and they're now ahead of England on the first innings. England have got a lot of changes they've made to the side. Their openers haven't worked. Dan Lawrence's second drop, that's an interesting one. Yeah, they're going through some severe changes, and they'll go through another series of changes when they get back to England. And I'm sure that Anderson and Broad will get another Guernsey, at least a swan song. There's no way that England will, because they're a gentleman's team, they won't allow Broad Anderson without a farewell in England. You watch.
No,
and deserve
I don't see that. Unless this test match, they would have dominated and they would have demolished West Indies with their bowling. I did not see that happen, even though their top order again struggled, which has been struggling since Ashes. They've tried all these different combinations in top, but their top 4 still failing, and bowling is still not being able to take 10 wickets, even though West Indies is quite weaker compared to any other opposition they're going to come across. But they're still struggling to get 10 wickets in that first innings. So I don't see Anderson and Broad not finishing off well at home this English summer. And I'd like to see them go on a high, play a good farewell test match at their respective home grounds, and then walking away with some nice farewell. But the worry is
they deserve it. They've been the best fast bowling pair for a long time, actually. And look, any player in this modern age should be, and especially if they're leading on their own terms, which maybe they weren't necessarily, they need to be given a farewell. I think it's good for cricket. I mean, like when Trent Bolt and South eventually go, they'll give them a farewell. They've been fantastic.
That's true.
Baba Azam in the video, even though it was in Urdu, it's intriguing. I watched it and I understood what was going on because he mentioned enough English words in it. Like he talked about momentum, he talked about domination. He used all these English words in an Urdu. I knew exactly what he was saying. And Imam Al Haq is smiling from ear to ear. He's uber confident, and I really like the style of play. They're not that tense. They're very relaxed. They've got an amazing batting coach, Mohammed Yusuf. He is one of the best ever. Best technically and tactically. He was a magnificent batter. Yeah, so it all goes well.
I think it'd be good. Yeah. I think the change room environment has been a contributing factor as well. So they've had a change of coach just before the World Cup, where Misbah and Waqar resigned, and then Suckland came in, Matthew Hayden came in, And I spoke to Matthew Hayden a couple of weeks ago here in Brisbane. He was so impressed with the younger lot in Pakistan change room. And we touched base on this. Boys actually saw him, spoken to him about cricket. He loves talking about cricket. He's sharing his experiences, and boys, they love those success stories from Matty Hayden, and they just embraced him, and they picked his brain with all these cricketing knowledge that he could share. And he was so happy about his time in Pakistan. And I asked him the question. I said, would you go back? He said, with the heartbeat. It's just that currently his family is growing, and at that age where he can't commit 100%, but he would love to go back in patches or in more of a consultancy capacity rather than as a full-time. And I see his role when Australia hosts that T20 World Cup when Pakistan comes here. I'd like to see Matthew Hayden get associated with Pakistan, because he's left such a big impression on those guys, and vice versa. So he's got really utmost respect from that younger lot. And as you mentioned, that they all look happy, they all look confident. They don't feel that pressure that they were feeling prior to the 2020 World Cup. So I think the change room environment actually does contribute towards your, because they're all young. They don't have that experience of 50 plus test matches apart from Azhar Ali. So they're all young a lot, and I think they see those figureheads in Sutland, in Sean Tate, now joined the team as well in a fast bowling coaching capacity. Mohammad Yusuf, who's been around 100 test match. So yeah, they're embracing all these experience and knowledge in the change room.
Yeah, it's when you look at we mentioned a few names like Matthew Hayden and the like, and go back to Jeff Lawson, who was there too, and a whole range of it. The thing about Pakistan, which I love, there's a certain, what's the word, unfiltered rawness to their play. They just back themselves and they play a fair bit of freedom. The Australian teams of late have been very inhibited, whether it be, after things like the sandpaper gate and this gate and that gate. It's really affected the mental approach to the Australian players. It's definitely affected Warner and Smith. They're not playing anywhere near their best. Khawaja came through all that. He seems to be quite freak-minded. There's an element of that which is very important in Test cricket, is that to back yourself. Even go back to Lily Thompson, Marsh, and the like. They were free thinkers as well. It's something that you need to be. You need Ian Botham in his mindset. Viv Richards. There's got to be a freedom to your thought process. And if you like that, that's what worries me about Alex Carey, and even now at Richardson, because Richardson must be very pent up after 5 years of trying to hear things getting into the Test side, and now his opportunity, he's going to explode. He's going to really want to do well and putting too much pressure on himself. And even I watched the next, he's gripping the ball very hard, and I can't help but think that Shane Warne said, "Loosen up, fella. Relax that hand." I reckon that significant comments like that needed. Yeah, Alex Carey's certainly one to worry about, because he looks pressured when he plays. He doesn't look himself. He did catch very well in the Ashes. And it's funny, the other thing was that Babar Azam talked about was the fear factor, the words that Kohli has made famous, getting rid of the fear factor of Australia. India have done that. Pakistan are doing a good job of that right now. And I like that. But who still has a fear factor of Australia? England. They appeared to play with a sense of fear or apprehension. That they don't.
It's more apprehension. I think they haven't won in Australia since Alistair Cook's famous tour. So I think it's they've got to do something about their system as well, and they've been talking about this system. Robert Key on commentary in Pakistan Test Series been talking about revamping of their county system, which has been ignored. They play a lot of cricket, and they play a lot of cricket in the time where ball is done too much favor to the batters. They don't get spinners in the play. They play little dibbly dobblers who are effective in those English seaming conditions, but when they go away from those seaming conditions, they're not effective at all. They play with a predominant seam duke ball, which is obviously very dangerous in those soft pitches with grass on. But when they come and play with the kookaburra in Australia or in subcontinent, they're very ineffective because the seam is quite flatter on those kookaburras. The pitches are not as seaming, they're not as soft. So they get used to playing on those conditions. Batters are not scoring runs. So it's dominated. The first half of English summer is always dominated by those seam bowlers. And even, in day 2, day 3, the spinners don't even come in play. So, even they're talking about Rashid to come back and Rashid come and play red ball cricket again. He's still thinking. He said the other day on TV as well, even if I go back and play county cricket, I don't get into game until day 3, day 4, because the ball is still seaming. The fast bowlers are still in play. So it's very unfortunate. They got to get their system right. They got to get their grounds pitches right before they can be competitive outside England, I suppose.
See, the selection that got me with England, other than obviously Anderson Broad, was Darwin Milan. I don't think he dropped. He got 280s. He was one of the better batsmen in the side, except for Joe Root. Why he was dropped from this new series is beyond me. They suddenly have faith in Dan Lawrence to bowl some crap spinner who got final out once he got 100.
True. Yeah, and so, Crawley was not good enough. They tried to see, they were just not good in Australian conditions where the ball's been bit bounce, swings a little bit. It's just, I don't see them getting back in Test cricket in the next couple of years. So it'd be a challenge for them. I'd like to see them come back. But next Ashes in England would be Australian time to win, I suppose.
Karachi National Stadium looks like a classic old stadium. It's got character.
It is. Beautiful stadium. I was there 2 years ago with Lahore Qalandars, and ground atmosphere. It's just beautiful. It's just a really good ground to watch cricket.
What's your favourite ground in Pakistan?
Lahore, by far, Lahore.
Gaddafi Stadium.
Gaddafi. It's by far. It's like here in Australia. I can't go past SCG. I mean, I've been to MCG and every other. Adelaide is beautiful ground. Now the way they've done the great stand, it's beautiful. I was there for the New Year's game with Sydney Sixers, and we went up to the roof to see the fireworks and everything. But I can't go past SCG. Like, it's been my home ground for 7 years now. The sitting on that balcony and watching that game from members, you can't beat that. It's just amazing.
The history, it's just amazing.
It's amazing.
Okay, Basis Mahoney suddenly bringing Aaron Finch and Olivia in the 2023 World Cup. At the moment, Aaron Finch is deservedly so the captain of Australia in the short format. He's had a successful run. He hasn't necessarily batted well himself, but he's a perfect mix. So I'm quite happy with him there. So Australia should play a 4-match series instead of 3 matches to boost Test cricket. Yeah, I'm all for long series. I think it tests the players more. I certainly don't like 2 Test series. I don't get that. I mean, he barely got into the Test series and it's over. I mean, in New Zealand, South Africa saw South Africa smashed in the first game, no preparation, and they came back in the second. There was no equaliser. There was no decider in that. You can't do that. You've got to have 3 at least, if not 4. And I'm all for 5. And even Australia used to play 6, didn't we? England touring team used to play 6. Impressive. Anyway, this is going to be exciting tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think
I've got to go, Norman.
That's all right.
I'll probably drop off from the discussion. It's been an amazing discussion again.
You've been called away.
I'll look forward to tomorrow, day 1, and I think we'll catch up again.
Thanks, Mason. Thanks very much.
And see how day 1 goes.
Thank you.
Thanks to your audience again. Lovely to be part of it.
And you're well liked as well.
Thanks, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So there you go. Mosen's putting in some great comments again. He knows a lot about Pakistan. again, coached under 19s. He's heavily involved with the Lahore Qalandars. He's heavily involved with a whole range of Australian teams. He's got the experience. He knows what he's talking about. But more importantly, we have this sense of history about this tour, as it's 24 years since the last time, and in fact, Mark Taylor is seen it very, very well. Let's hope they play more often. Let's hope this is one of the many. During Misbah al-Haq's captaincy, Sarfraz was a good batsman, but post that, he's not in form. Yeah, there was a few issues with him. There was a bit of dissension with him and the team. So, yeah, he was a bit controlling, I'm hearing. It wasn't a very good mix with him. What they've got going on now is pretty damn good. And, I mean, Brisbane's keeping fantastically and batting fantastically. Bubba Azam's fantastic. Azhar really provides stability. The young guns, Imam and Shafiq, will come through. You know, they got the rest of the batsmen didn't have much of a chance in the series, but really it's been a very impressive start from Pakistan. I can only see them getting better rather than worse. And Australia will need to get better in a hurry. And just changing one spot, just changing one player, as in Mitchell Swepson, is, in my opinion, not enough. They probably needed to change more than one. They needed to get some, even a third spinner there, and that could easily have been Agar in the place of someone like Travis Head and Boland in the place of Stark. They could have gone with Boland, Cummins, then the three spinners and Cameron Green, and had a very good mix. And I think that would have been a pretty good side under the circumstances. So that's my thoughts on that. As far as India and Sri Lanka are concerned, India will make very few changes, I'm sure. That's such a successful match. Sri Lanka may attempt to make changes, but they're on a high to nothing. They're probably not going to really have much of a chance in this match. And being a day-night pink ball test, they might bring in some more pace bowlers, I'm not sure, but they're going to be probably struggling quite considerably. So, subcontinent temperature touching upcoming days is 30 degrees. Yeah, it's a lot hotter in Karachi. It's on that coastline that coastline we talked about. I'm really looking forward to this match as well as Lahore. If I could make sure that I'm there, I'd be really happy. It's just a matter of how I get or someone to help my mother. Off to bed. Good night, Paul Newman. Good stuff. It's now 11:34. It's not far from my bedtime as well. Any questions, guys? Please ask questions. Ask away. We've had a very good discussion here tonight and some very good questions from the audience. Pitch will be a turning wicket. Yeah, it looks like it. And that's good. And that's probably more what even Pat Cummins says they were expecting the Karachi pitch more. Well, I should be expecting any pitch, really. And any pitch that's dished up, whether it's a spinning track or a dead track or road, or the word benign has been used a few times there. Both teams get to play on the same pitch, so no one's advantage more than another. It's just that Pakistan were dominant in the first test. They didn't lose or win the match, but they certainly showed their wares very, very nicely. Yes, there you go. It's going to be very, very interesting indeed. I'm pretty sure that we'll see a good game, that's for sure. And we hopefully see some more fight from Australia and more wicket-taking deliveries, which they lacked in the first match. As I said, you can't win a test match if you take 3 genuine wickets and have a run-out. You're not going to win many matches, are you? If Pakistan prepares spin tracks too, so there's more than enough to take 20 Pakistan, then they don't need another wicket. Well, yeah, but it's proven that, I mean, India had 3 spinners in the last match, so they know what they're doing. Red Soul, Karachi pitch assistance to spinner, good. But then Pakistan batters are probably more able to handle the conditions than Australia as well. It's a great learning curve for all players, especially Australians, as they're experiencing these wickets for the first time. Even though they're very well experienced in the subcontinent from India's perspective, the conditions and the feel, the air, the smell, the texture, it's all its own. You can't compare to other countries in that part of the world. So Ahmedabad, Karachi, same type of wicket pitch. Okay, that's interesting. And we'll see how they do compare. And then Lahore will be a fantastic ending. And my prediction is that Pakistan will win this test match. And then we'll see how it happens in the last one. Australia were going to win one of these two, or they haven't won the first one, and they don't look like they're going to win the second. So I'm not being damning about Australia either. It's just something that, they're going to be a lot better after the first match. They've all learned a lot, but they still haven't got the confidence and momentum's not on their side. And they're the key factors that Baba Azam made clear, that he said that they dominated. Momentum, confidence, the 3 test centuries between the 4 innings of the top batters, in fact 5. So 4 out of 5. There you go. Because we had Azhar Ali and Imam al-Haq in the first innings. Second innings, we had Shafiq and Imam al-Haq. So 4. And effectively, they were the only 3 that really needed the bat. The rest were just token innings. So it was kind of normally they will win the series 1-0. Okay, well, let's see what that happens. Wind also helped the fast bowlers. That will. But yeah, 1-0. If Australia win the series 1-0, that'll be a shock. After the first game, that's not what you can expect. You would not expect that at all. At all. All right, guys. Well, we might finish up very soon. Any more questions? Pakistan are afraid of Australia's fast bowlers. I don't know. They haven't been that threatening, really. Cummins has probably been the better one, and bowling was really good in Australia. So, yeah, I'm not too sure about this. Fear factor's not really there as much as people think anymore at all. It's quite a different kettle of fish, the whole idea of fear. And the best example of that was the way that Kohli attacked the Australians over the years, and in turn Pakistan in Australia haven't had it all their own way. They've been very good at their home country. They need to probably improve their performances in Australia. Would be a key to their overall success, let's be honest. South to north winds, okay. Devon Unsane, okay. Do you think pink ball or day-night tests is a good advertisement to test cricket, as most day-night matches are text in its radio? Yeah, I kind of get that. And I guess the timing suits certain broadcasters and audiences, different audiences, it suits them more. Whereas an all-day test is what we're used to saying. Yeah, it isn't much fun watching 3-day test matches finishing at all. I much prefer to see a 5-day test match with a draw, like we saw in the first match here. That's my thoughts. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the 3-day test. But people do like short-form cricket, I'm afraid. It's been played around the world now. And short-form cricket seems to be well and truly back in vogue, so to speak. So, yeah, that's probably where we're at with all of that. So, what was it? Live preview, is it? Yeah, this is a live preview. Look at that. Live preview. Live preview is okay. All right, guys. We might. Okay, what else we got here? Reverse swing will also be seen. Yes, tomorrow. I think no real test for both teams at openers in Karachi. Yeah, it will be, but I think Pakistan are ready for it. Having come off a match where they scored 3 centuries in the top 2 batsmen, and in fact 4 between the top 3. Pretty heavy chance. In fact, the second innings, the first droppers didn't get a chance to bat. So really, there's only been the openers in the second innings, and they scored centuries, both of them. And in the first test innings, a century and a 40, plus a century from number 3. I had it covered. It's one of the most dominant opening performances I've seen from batters in a long time. Tomorrow, I think red real test. Okay, yes, you've said that a few times now, something. And I agree. I would agree with that totally. I think it's a fair comment, fair whack of a comment. Let's have a look here. Imam al-Haq certainly was very pleasing in the first match. Deserved the Player of the Match award wholeheartedly. Absolutely wholeheartedly. So make sure you guys are viewing these reports, liking the post and sharing it, and ultimately getting people that you know to learn about the channel, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and build the audience. We've got, as it stands now, 27,867 subscribers, which is very impressive, but there's a long way to go getting more and more people involved. I think Rizwan should open with Fakhar Zaman in ODI. Richardson can be effective. Yeah, I agree. That's in one day. I agree. But we're talking about test matches now, so they're a different story. And why England not doing well in test cricket? Now they are struggling against Western. Well, I explained. We were talking about that earlier. They're chopping and changing their size. Their counting system has fallen apart because they're so orientated towards the 100 and the white ball games, whether it's T20 or 50 over, and they're left county cricket to the one side, having nurtured players across the drop Milan as they should have, keep changing the opening partnerships, keep giving people a go who don't deserve it, like Dan Lawrence is batting number 4. Oh, gee, that's a hell of an elevation. Guys are the mainstays of Bairstow and even Ben Stokes and Ben Folkes now is back. That's a good selection. Bowling wise, well, Chris Wokes and Overton and Ollie Robertson, certainly they're good there, but they need someone like Anderson Broad, and they've stopped up. And Jack Leach is not a bad spinner, but he's not a great spinner either. So it's sort of an in-between combination for those guys. Absolutely. West Indies, and they're a bit of a melting pot of players, and they seem to be handling very well. Imam weakness is body line ball. Maybe, but he got 2 centuries, but can't even begin to talk about any weaknesses there. What's your predictions about this series? It's a draw 1-2. I think that this match will go to Pakistan, and then the third test, well, it's anybody's. But Pakistan will win this match for sure. Never won't lose the series after having drawn the first one. And that was their intention, really. Cover drives are underrated. He's actually, Shafiq impressed me quite a bit too, let's be honest. India, Ashwin, just breaking a record. The record he's now, I think, 9th in the overall tally. Rampaging ahead, he'll probably eventually go past Kumble and become the most prolific wicket taker. And there you go. Maybe he should have played a lot more games during the Test series, both in England and even throughout the year. And he hasn't, which is interesting. Fawad Alam scored a century versus Africa in Karachi. Well, that's good. If he gets a chance, good to see him. He's apparently a real gun as well. But we haven't even seen the best, supposedly. Babar Azam, he's supposedly the best they've got, and he hasn't even really had much of an opportunity. Hasn't been anything. He might come through very heavily towards the end of this series. Let's wait and see. All right, that was 11:43. So, any other questions, guys? Who was Test cover drive? They're both Bubba and Coley are both great. Coley probably is slightly ahead, even though Coley hasn't the best of seasons. He's still way ahead with these incredible innings that he's played. He's been a fantastic player for a long, long time. Very long time. Very, very long time. All right. We are now gone 1 hour and 12 minutes. So those 20 odd people, 6 people that are online, please subscribe if you haven't done so. And share. Go to your WhatsApp groups, grab the link and say, here you go, guys, have a look at this. Because that'll only help me out, us out, and have a great time with it. Very, very impressive indeed is that whole word of mouth mentality. It generally is the best way that you can find out when something's good, because you get the real story, don't you? You get the real story. Will Swepson take a fifer? Let's hope he does, but I don't think. Rooster Skipper. Rooster Skipper. Is that Winifred? You're a rooster and you're a skipper? Is that you, Rooster? Who's that? I'm suspicious of that name. Norman, how many years of cricket left in Smith and Warner? Not. I don't think if they've got to start giving up formats. They're pretty much T20 and ODI finished, in my opinion, and they should stick to Test cricket. So we might get 3 or 4 years out of them. Hassan Ali is the best fast bowler in subcontinent pitches nowadays. Well, let's see him in action this time around. Sami Allah can show Shaheen troubled Warner tomorrow in Israel. Of course he can. He troubled everybody in this Test match, even though the wickets were in favour of the batter. He certainly did. Absolutely. Absolutely. Warner isn't a white ball finished yet. You don't think so? I think he's going to have to start making some decisions sooner or later. How old is someone finding out how old Dave Warner is? Is he 34, 35? He needs to start to think about concentrating on one format. Someone Google or check on Instagram, whatever, in terms of ESPN Quick Info, and have a look how old he is, please. Shane Warne, not Shane Warne. He's dead. He's 52. Dave Warner. It's quite a sad state of affairs. Well, people ask me where am I from. So I say Coogee Beach, Sydney, Australia. Warner has well passed his peak. You would argue that he's had a very illustrious career. We can't say anything bad about his career. His career's been fantastic. But yeah, I think he's passed his better days for sure. That's a fair comment. What do you think Jason's saying? A future star. He's got the personality. He's got the attitude. He's got the ability. He's already scored centuries at all levels. He's got the quality stuff. And captain Australia in the 19s. Siddharth Singh from these new generation cricketers. Name 5 who do you think would be the next generation Fab 5, something like that. Okay. I'm still going to say Jason Singh of Australia. I'm going to say from England. There's a lot more left than Josh Butley yet as well. I rate Zach Crawley. How much do we go? I rate him. New Zealand, well, Will Young certainly is good. Devon Conway's another from New Zealand. Australia's got Curtis Patterson, he's not that young, but he's good there. Henry Hunt, apparently an opener from the Josh English, so he gets to show his form. In West Indies, there's a bunch of blokes there, but I don't really know them that well. But the Bonner, for example, came through, looks class. He's relatively young. India, well, there's so many. I mean, Ishaq Kashana, if he converts, Shreyas Iyer is going to be a big bolt for the future. Pakistan should tour Australia frequently, which can rebuild their confidence at the highest level. Yeah, I can accept that. Absolutely. So Bubba versus Coley. Coley has to be the winner, even though he hasn't batted well of late. He has to be the winner. Bubba is certainly good, certainly quality, but I think Coley's record stands for itself already, and we know that. So Bonner is 33 years old. Okay, well, I thought he was younger. My apologies. He looked young. West Indies blokes do look young. How old is Dave Warner is a question I was asking. Not only Bonner, but how old is Dave Warner? If you can find that for me, that'll be good. Absolutely important. It's just, I think that both Warner and Smith need to concentrate on Test cricket. I think they pretty much are now. The IPL's been where the money's at for them. We know that. So that's one of the reasons why they've hung on there for as long as they have, which is understandable. Warner's 35. Well, that is certainly reaching a point where career is 3 years away. And if he only sticks to Test cricket, is what the question will be. Pakistan never lost a Test match in Karachi. Will they win this time? I think they will. Your thoughts on Gavaskar's statement about Warren? Unusual, because you watch other reports and he says the opposite. So Smith is age 32, so he's got a few years to go, more than Warner. Yeah, I mean, Gavaskar's almost contradicting himself a little bit. Anyway, let's not forget that one of the 5 Western cricketers of the century one of them was Warren. Right. Viv Richards, Shane Warne, Sir Jack Hollis, Bradman, Sobers, Jesus, incredible players in that list. Only 5 of them. We'll talk about Bradman's Invincible. 1948 was amazing. And Neil Harvey, who's still alive, was 20 years of age there. Bradman was 40. They had an immaculate, it's immortalised. It's got so much history. They were an incredible side, led by Bradman. And a young guy like Neil Harvey, who ended up being the second highest score run getter. Captain Australia, head selector Australia, well revered. He's still alive. As I said, Arthur Morris was in that group as well. Another legendary batsman. Australia will be favourites in Karachi as their performances are better than Pakistan. Well, you can't say that. Well, you can say that. You can say anything you want, but I don't think that's necessarily the case at all. I think there's a lot more in Pakistan's favour than not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. How do you rate Sajid Khan? Pretty good prospect. Not sure how good he is really. He bowled pretty well, and but then again, he didn't take as many wickets as his bowling partner Neumann did. Australia will be. Australia's not maybe. Don't think they're the favourites at all. All right, guys. I'm going to have to close it now. It's view, like, and share the post. Subscribe to Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. Pass it on WhatsApp to any groups, your email groups, your WhatsApp groups, your friends groups, and recommend the show. Get them to subscribe. Hit the notification button. Next sessions will be tomorrow. Obviously, the test match between Australia and Pakistan is on tomorrow, as well as India versus Sri Lanka. You also have the West Indies England match going on as we speak. There's Women's World Cup. Amongst the Oman are playing someone until I can remember. Norman, Ricky Ponting, better captain than Steve Orr. Your view? No, Steve Orr was a better captain. He was probably the best captain statistically, and also his attitude and the way it was probably one of the best ever. And many people would agree with that, including people who played against him. No doubt. No doubt whatsoever. All right. Any other questions? False on what records, mate? There's a long way to go. Okay. Which is best and pathetic rule according to you in the MCC rules? I think they're all pretty okay. Maybe the court not being, not allowed to swap ends is a bit unnecessary. Otherwise, no, I think they're okay. They're not that impacting, to be honest. They're not impacting at all, really. They're rather minor, I think. So, yeah, that's my question. The pathetic rules are the ones which stop the game down, slow the game down. They're the pathetic rules. Anything attempts to slow the game down is what you need to be wary of. All right, we might end there, guys. So, Ian Chappell, better captain than Alan Border. Ooh, that's a hard one. Ian Chappell was a fan. I'd have to say Ian Chappell's a better captain, yes. Alan Border was a captain that led by example, scoring one test. He scored 150 in both innings. But Ian Chappell was a very clever man, well respected, and when he said something, the team listened to. He had Ian Chappell, Greg Chappell, obviously himself and Greg Chappell, Lillian Marsh, Thompson, Walters, Max Walker, a great combination. Really brought the best out of all of them, which was the key. And that's where Ian Chappell really starts and finishing. Is there a way you can have some members or the fans in the chat as well, some discussions on your show? Yes, it's true. We can set that. I already told you to send your information to my Instagram at Norm Koch, and I will talk about it. So that's the other key. I've had plenty of fans. Baram was a fan when he first started. He was not a regular on the show. He's done very, very, very well, to be honest. Very, very well indeed. All right. Any more questions? Otherwise, we'll end it there, guys. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. So, view, like, and share. Eyes on Cricket. Hit the subscribe button and notification button, and join us in conversation in the future. All the best. We'll talk tomorrow. Thank you, guys. All the best. Also, sure, we'll connect there. Great. I'm going to set up. Which two teams do you see in the World Test show? I've talked about this already before, but probably going to be Australia and, I would say India. Sorry about the Rabbitohs. Arun Singh, thank you. Didn't expect Broncos to win, but they actually played really well, Broncos. Sounds looked a bit rudderless. So, yeah, I think the loss of Adam Reynolds is going to hurt South this year big time. That's football talk, guys, not cricket talk. All right, guys, all the best. Take care.